Okay. Look at that,
There we
Mikey. We're
go.
live.
And I'm better than the alternative.
Yeah. Yeah, nobody ever comes on. Now, wouldn't it be funny if, like, for all these reruns and all these old movies and everything, when the people came on, the shows came on, I should say, that they said, and now dead from New York, because most of the people or all the people in the show are dead. I mean, don't you ever think about that when you're looking at like TCM and you're looking at, I don't know, a movie from the 40s and you're saying, crap,
We're all on. Yeah.
they're all gone, man. But yeah, it looks like you could go drive down Hollywood Boulevard and
With
see all
Crazy
the
Legs
stars.
Hirsch. With Crazy Legs Hirsch and his convertible Cadillac.
Just saw Crazy Legs in a movie not too long ago.
He did some film.
Yeah, he did. He did a film. The name of it is escaping me now. That the movie Airplane was based on, or the movies
Bit of a
Airplane,
comedy.
yeah, was based on.
And
And it's
remember
fun.
Crazy Legs' real first name?
Elroy.
Correct. You go to the Norm Van Brocklin honorary stage, and you receive a number 19 sandwich at Langer's Deli.
I appreciate that. Not Leroy, but Elroy. Elroy,
Right.
Crazy Legs Hirsch. Yeah, we don't have players like that anymore, man. We don't have
Dick Night Train Lane.
Yeah, now that the players are all millionaires,
They want their name. They want some respect.
they want respect.
They don't want to be commodities that are slightly amusing.
They want respect.
Well, I can't give them that, but I'll tell you what's going on here in LA. It happens every year, and we call it the June gloom, where the Marine layer rolls in and refuses to be compromised or dissuaded. It just sits on LA, and there's no sun. Though that's a misstatement. There is some sun. It just doesn't get through the marine layer to our normally sunny domicile. And this confuses the people who live here. And there's a lot of them. There's more than 10 million of us. And we can't be blamed for how we react to the June gloom. It is a mental more than a meteorological problem that we have. And it blunts our normally sunny disposition and our ability to strike out in new ways and influence the planet we live on to the positive. And stories that we hear daily about Donald Trump might be received more emotionally than regular regular news breaks through. And so I apologize if I'm subdued. That would be that, and the Giants winning record is enough to take the edge off anybody.
Well, yeah. Well, but usually baseball is the saving grace, and thank God up here that I have the Mariners to lean on, while not running away with the division by any means. They're winning games that they got to win. They're beating teams that they got to beat.
But I see that they're all still considering the dismissal of Dan Wilson, just to show that they're.
There's idiots everywhere.
That's a fact.
There's idiots everywhere. We grow them here in America from coast to coast, from border to border.
We do that. American idiots are quite a brand.
Everybody thinks that they can do a better job than Dan Wilson can. And listen, I'm not going to say that Dan Wilson is perfect. I'm not going to say that he is the best manager in the major leagues or anything like that. But you know what? The Mariners have won under Dan Wilson. Dan Wilson got the Mariners further than they ever got before. He got them one game away from the World Series last year. He's worked through injuries on his team. He's worked through um, guys that were less than enthusiastic about playing. He's worked through and guided that ball club through some tough times, and he's guided that ball club through some great times.
And the Mariners, if I'm not mistaken, are his only managerial experience.
First time he's a manager. He's a first time manager. Um, if you were to dismiss Dan Wilson, what's the name?
You have to hire another catcher to come in and be the manager. Another
What's the name that you're putting up there? You know, it's a trope that it was used by sports talk hosts for years, still is. And I saw what was it when the Mariners kind of were in the mud a little bit earlier in the year. I saw Softy put up a big thing on YouTube where he was get rid of Dan Wilson, yada yada yada. The same guy who will, when he sees Dan Wilson, when he has access, he said, "We'll kiss his ass. We'll get him on the show and kiss his ass." So it's a trope that's used by sports talk hosts to
turn up
callers,
reaction,
to get people upset. It's the oldest one in the book. Get rid of authority. Get rid of the guy who's running. How many times do you think people stood in the stands at Yankee Stadium in the 40s and 50s and wanted to get rid of Casey Stengel?
Fire the bum. Fire the old professor.
And one day, you get people. How many people wanted to get rid of Lou Piniella after the 2000 season? Tons of them. Tons of people would call the show and say, "Oh, he doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know this. He doesn't know that."
Isn't it true that if you're not a winning team, your fans don't know how to react to losing? They sense that it's a yearly cycle and they're never going to break out of it. Somebody's got to go. Something big's got to change for you to become a winner, for your team to advance, and that's not the answer.
Well, I just I think it's when a team has a winning or above winning record. If a team is down at like Carlos Mendoza with the Mets, you had to do something there to shake things up. I don't think it's going to improve it all that much, but you had to do something to shake things up. If a player, a manager loses control of a clubhouse, which it doesn't mean that the manager controls the clubhouse. He doesn't move every piece around, but he has a frosty relationship with many of his players
around the food table.
People now want a manager that'll throw the food table. They don't care if he manages baseball. They just care that he can throw the food table. A lot of the, I think one thing an instant replay has done, and now the strike deal,
the appeal
has taken that time-honored Earl Weaver argument out of the game for the most part. Every once in a while, one comes up, but for the most part, managers don't come out and argue calls anymore.
And Earl was a champion at that.
And Earl and Lou and guys of that ilk, and fans love that because they perceived it as the manager, the leader, fighting for the team. And you don't have that anymore. So for the most part, I mean, every once in a while you still get it. Um, but so I think it leads to a perception among the public that the manager is weak, even though there's no reason for him to come out of the dugout. He's got an appeal process. So I don't know why anybody would want to fire Dan Wilson. Well, again, I do, because they're egged on by, and you get it now with social media trolls. Fire Dan Wilson. Write that in your on the Mariners chat group, or Mariners. We love the Mariners group, and you'll see how it takes off.
And it probably happens every day.
Probably pretty much so. You want to see some voices. Go look at a Mets, an I Love the Mets group, where everybody complains about everything every single day.
Who's the interim manager now that the Mets have fired theirs?
Some guy named Andy Green.
Sounds like a stand-up comedian.
Yeah. I don't know if he's a relation to Dallas Green.
Or Mo Green.
Or Mo Green, for that matter. But he will have the club, and he's been told, and it's agreed to, that he's just going to run the club till the end of the year. And at that point, they'll look for a new manager.
Nationwide search, no doubt.
Well, yeah, I think that's how it goes, isn't it? After a national search. We hired the guy that works down the hall. So,
and I wonder how the prospective managers looking for a job view the Mets vacancy, as a positive or as something to be avoided.
Oh, I think it's a positive. You're going to get a ton of money. You are going to manage in a pressure cooker. But
maybe you'll be in a movie with Crazy Legs Hirsch.
You're going to make more money than you ever made in your life. So I'm sure that you will, that most managers will want to go there and manage. You have a couple of superstars on your team. I don't think the team is as, injuries have hurt it. I don't think the team is as bad as it is. A lot of people don't like the way they made the team up this year. I do think that it should have worked, because they tried to redesign the team around more speed, better fielding, more contact hitting.
It looked good on paper, didn't it?
Yeah. I listen. I'll be one to admit that I thought that, with the exception of getting rid of Pete Alonso, which I still think was a bad move in many ways.
There's not a lot of polar bears out there,
but there's a lot of reasons why you wouldn't keep him if you're not looking at it with a passion, that you love the guy and you think he's fun to watch, and he's got a great quip for the press all the time, and he's this big lovable guy. I don't think he's doing much better in Baltimore than he would have been doing here, but it's somebody that he was a clubhouse guy for sure. And how much do you pay for a clubhouse guy?
You pay the going rates.
The problem is they brought in somebody to play first base who had played a total of one game at first base in his career.
And what was the theory behind that? That he was going to be a hitter and a contributor, and
yeah, you're going to get
all the things that Alonso was.
but at a less expensive price. So I don't know. Um, so we'll see what they do in the off season. Um, it's not too late for them to come back, but it's highly unlikely. Stranger things have happened because with this playoff format and everything, you really don't have to. When you get to the top of the division, all you got to do is get to a decent place, and maybe a new manager will motivate some people. Maybe guys will wake up and start to play a lot better. There are a lot of mental mistakes on.
think they have the pitching to get through a competitive playoff.
Maybe, maybe not. Probably not. It depends on what they do at the trade deadline, but we'll see. Um, if they got themselves into that position, I could see them getting out of the first round if they did get there. But a lot of mental mistakes on that team, man. I mean, I saw Lindor one day early in the season forget how many outs there were. Just the mental mistakes. They don't seem to be mentally well trained, the Mets, right now. So, whereas the Giants, what has come out of the Rafael Devers situation?
Nothing. He's just back in the lineup as he has been for the first part of the season, and I don't think they're going to trade him. I think he's got too much baggage.
Well, he's I mean, who would take him?
And who wants to deal with the Giants right now? Who wants to send them a pitcher or a hitter?
Yeah, I'm sure that people will wait. I don't think you listen. You don't ever get value. Well, I'm not going to say don't ever get value, but it's less likely that you'll get value for a trade at the trading deadline. And with the added baggage of his contract and his attitude and everything, I can't imagine that people are going up and offering frontline players for him.
He hit 2 home runs the other day. Now he has 254 career, and most of them have come with his previous teams. But he's a Giant, and it's up to him to produce. He's supposed to be a dangerous hitter, supposed to be a producer of runs and offense. And he's not by himself on that team in terms of underachieving.
Yeah, he's how is there when I saw that incident, I wondered to myself, would he do this with an experienced major league manager? Would he have done that if Bush had been there? Would he ever done that if a Lou Piniella was in the dugout? Would he have done that if name a manager, an experienced major league manager? Would have he tried to pull that crap with him? Would have he done that with Alex Cora?
Earl Weaver.
And my gut feeling says no. My gut feeling is he showed up his rookie manager, the guy who's never managed in the majors before. And so I don't know. You follow the team a lot closer than I do. And it they seem like an average team at best, with a manager who's rolling along and making mistakes.
He doesn't have a lot to work with.
Yeah.
He has precious few options that he can go to and a means to rescue the team, to turn around the direction that they're going in, to foster some different personality that motivates them. I don't think that's in the cards for this team with any manager. And Lou Piniella would be one frustrated, unapproachable porcupine if it were his job, because on paper, this team should be producing better than it is. And you can see in a week's attention span that they win, lose, win, lose, 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 win, lose. They can't put together a win streak. They don't support their good pitching efforts. If the Giants have a pitcher that goes out there and is whizzing the ball, having a great outing, he's got 6 strikeouts by the 3rd inning, the Giants will complement that production by not scoring any runs, giving 0 support. And it's pretty hard to define what's wrong with the team that doesn't play ball. I saw a game with the Red Sox and the Yankees the other day, and the Red Sox were leading 2-0 in the 9th inning. Yankees come back, and the Sox have to win. They do eventually win, but the strangest play was a fly ball, 2 guys on, the fly ball to right field. Right fielder catches it, and instead of throwing to second, it looks like he's trying to throw to third, but the idea is hard to believe what I was seeing. From right field, he throws the ball over the second baseman's head, past the pitcher. It hits the backstop. The ball on 2 bounces from right field goes all the way to the backstop and runs score. And he's mortified, the right fielder. But what goes through a professional's head to throw a ball in a tight situation where you've got to hit the cutoff man and shut down the advance of the runners in the 9th inning situation where you're ahead and you have to save your lead, and you throw the ball to a spot on the field that there are no players. It was the most undefined error I'd ever seen. Mental error, physical error, everything added together, and a bad throw on top of it. And you have to come to the conclusion that the right fielder was in another world for a moment. Where was he supposed to be? What was he supposed to do? What did he in fact do? And it just doesn't add up. And I don't know how the manager of the Red Sox, what can you do to manage that out of the final score?
Well, that's I don't know if you can manage that out, but
manage that out.
It's such a factor in the game. It happens so much in the game that they have a category for it up on the scoreboard.
Yeah, they do.
You know, I mean, that's what we forget, that there are a large amount there's so many mistakes in the game of baseball that they have a category for it on the scoreboard. Every game since time immemorial
both
has counted the mistakes in a game. It's on there. It says there's a big letter E. So and it's part of the tragedy of the game if the error comes at a bad time, and the beauty of the game if the error comes at a good time for your team. And the embarrassment is part of the redemption story of the game. Because how many guys have made an error in a game and then come back in the next inning or the inning after that or a couple of innings later and hit a home run that pulls this team even again? And it's part of what draws us to it.
You made an error. It was a terrible error, and they scored 2 runs. You can fix that. It's not too late. There's time left in this game, and it's up to you to do it. It's up to you to gather your talent and make up for it.
And that's the part of the game that has been lost, I think, in many ways. That redemption, Mario Cuomo in the series baseball, Ken Burns series baseball, spoke eloquently of guys that make errors, because he said that it was the part of the game that teaches you comeback. It was the part of the game that teaches you that failure is going to come in life, that you don't automatically do everything perfectly every time, that a huge part of the game is failure. Now, you're not going to like failure. Nobody likes to see somebody commit an error,
But you got to face
errors, but they're facts of life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I believe part of the problem with today's society is that we don't allow people to make errors anymore.
They can't overcome them.
We don't give them a chance to overcome them. We don't give them a chance for that comeback story, not just in baseball, but in life. It's part of the beauty of the game. But in today's society, we look at that and we just, if somebody makes an error, somebody does something, screws something up, we automatically discount them.
Loser.
It's a loser. You're an idiot.
Get him out of there.
I think it's sad, because you like to think that redemption is part of the American story. Losing something and coming, screwing something up and then coming back and doing something to make it or a situation better, being a hero after you screwed things up and were a failure.
You can put it behind you.
There's a lot to be said for that. Americans are supposed to be a forgiving bunch of people, right? But more and more, with social media, with media in general,
and don't leave out the Supreme Court. Keep the Supreme Court on your list.
Yeah, we're not a forgiving society anymore. We're not. We don't forgive. We don't take those errors and say and root for the guy to come back, or the woman, or whoever, to come back. Somebody makes a mistake, we want to banish them.
Go over and sit with Bill Buckner. Go on, go over there.
Yeah. And it's sad, I think, because it was I thought a part of what made us better than them. If you made a mistake, we were taught in school, if you made a mistake in Russia, you were sent to the
Gulag.
Siberia, to the Gulag. You were gone. But if you made a mistake in America, there was redemption. Geez, even a couple of the Supermans were about guys that made mistakes, went to jail, and came out of jail and did something to help Superman.
They learned their lesson. They redeemed themselves.
Exactly. They learned their lesson. And that was the great American story, the story of redemption. And that's where we had it among many other countries, that you were given a chance to redeem yourself. Geez, even Nixon redeemed himself partially. How many people who made mistakes, made errors, came back and did something in the future did something later in their lives to redeem themselves. And as a society, we forgave them. That's my
Prove it,
that's
and to
my
prove
life
it,
is like baseball moment for the
yeah.
day.
And that's why the events described within Superman are another lesson to be learned from. Superman, via Vinnie's appreciation of it and analysis of the themes illustrated in the Superman black and white television series, you can count on Vinnie coming up with the details of the situation and applying it to real life.
Well, there was a couple of of those programs. There was one that featured Hugh Beaumont, who was Beaver's father, where he worked in uh, he went to jail early in his life. He did something when he was a kid, stole a car or something, wound up going to jail, got out of jail, and wound up winning the Citizen of the Year award from the
Great
Daily
Caesar's
Planet.
Ghost.
And when his name was in the paper with that award, one of his old jail buddies found him and tried to blackmail him. And Superman got wind of it and protected him. But the guy found redemption. Another one early on where Dabbs Greer played a convict who was accused of murder, and he kept telling people that he didn't do it, and Clark Kent and then Superman investigated it and found out that he didn't do it. And Superman bust through the prison wall and stuck his hand in one of the more dramatic scenes in Superman, stuck his hand in the big switch they used to electrocute people, and stop Dabbs Greer from getting electrocuted.
He would have been Great Caesar's Ghost.
Yeah, but that program carried stories uh, of all different kinds. But one of the themes that ran through it, especially in the early days, were themes of redemption. And we I don't think as a society we have that to that degree anymore. Nowadays, if somebody makes a mistake and they wind up in jail or they wind up in this, they move to a new town, they open up a store or something. Somebody gets wind of it and they put it on social media, and the next thing you know, oh, we can't go there. We don't want to, that guy was in jail. We don't want to, somebody organizes a boycott or this or that. And I'm not saying that everybody that comes out of jail is, leads an exemplary life afterwards, but
No,
we used to
that
give
wouldn't
them
be
a
true.
chance to lead that life. We used to give them the opportunity to lead that life. Now, not so much. And so it goes back to making that error in right field. He probably heard it from the fans.
Yeah,
You know, um,
he did, and the replays, 3 or 4 different replays. Let's look at that again. Well, who's he throwing it to? Where the hell is that? What's he thinking? Where's that ball going? The play was at second. He couldn't have thrown him out at third. What the hell was he doing?
right? And we even see it with the announcers. It used to be announcers wouldn't chastise somebody for doing that. It
Wouldn't rub
was
it
kind of
in.
they worked for the club, and you kind of accepted that. But since sports talk became popular, now the announcers feel like they got to chastise somebody. I just think, again, I think that People make mistakes in life, and we have to. We have to. I mean, we don't have to blanketly forgive them. They need to. They need to atone for their mistakes. They need to probably try to make it right somehow. And I go back to what I said before, that in baseball, you usually got the chance to make it right again. If not the next inning, if not the same game, in a subsequent game. Unless, of course, it was the last game of the year, in which case you had to live with it all winter, and that was not pretty.
That's a tough winter.
And in some cases, you have to live with it for the rest of your life, a la Bill Buckner, a la Bonehead Merkel, a la the guy who was the guy that ran the wrong way with the football?
Corrigan.
Well, yeah. No, Corrigan was a pilot, wasn't he?
Wrong way Corrigan, I thought it was.
No, I think wrong way Corrigan was a pilot who flew the wrong way. Maybe I'm wrong.
Bombed the wrong target. Well, if Stan Wilson wins today's game, will that save his job? It should.
I don't think his job is in question. I think that the Mariners.
Smarter than that.
If there's somebody in the front office in the Mariners who's thinking about firing Dan Wilson, they ought to have their heads examined. They ought to have their heads examined. You put him there a year, 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, whatever it is. Let him manage. Give him the tools, which you have.
Don't pretend you don't know how baseball is, where
right.
Only
it's
a third of what
race.
you do.
You're a half game back in the West. Have Mariner fans now think that they ought to be that it's an automatic that they should be 10 games ahead?
They don't understand the game, if that's their conclusion.
I'd say if you're a half game out in on 4th of July, you're in pretty good shape. You know, go look at how many teams report. Look at what the Red Sox are. What do the Red Sox got? 35, 36 wins. The Mets, 36, I think.
Giants, I think, are fewer than that.
Yeah, the Giants have 35. The only team that's worse than them is the Colorado Rockies. 33 and 53, but they got 35 wins.
We got the Diamondbacks tonight. I think lost to them yesterday.
Yeah, which is the Diamondbacks, a team that a lot of people expected to contend. They're a game above 500. I'm trying to see if there's a lot of any big surprise. I guess the biggest surprises in baseball this year are the Marlins, who are 4.5 back in the East.
Giants got swept by them a couple weeks ago.
Maybe the Rangers, which are a couple of games above 500, in front of the Mariners. I think the biggest surprise that people aren't talking about is the Pope's team.
The White Sox, the Pale Hose.
Now that's some divine intervention. Imagine if they go on to win the division. I mean, they were the worst team in baseball. They were last year. They were in competition with the Mets for the worst record ever in baseball.
What changed? What revitalized their efforts?
Well, they brought in a slugger, was it Murakami, I think. I forget, but they signed a player that nobody expected them to sign, and he's worked out quite well. I think he's hurt now, But nobody expected the Chicago White Sox to do much of anything. And then there's the Detroit Tigers, who were in the playoffs last year, gave the Mariners all they could handle in the playoffs. Have Tarek Skubal there at the top of their rotation, and they're 10 games, 12 games under 500.
And Stubal's on the block. They talk about trading him a lot.
Well, I think he's a free agent at the end of the year.
Here comes Tomas.
You heard baseball being talked about.
Yeah.
And the Tampa Ray Devil Rays, I still call them the Devil Rays, are, at 49-33, ahead of the Yankees. Yankees are 2.5 back. I mean, that's a team that didn't have a ballpark to play in over the winter.
And they got swept by the Red Sox. You know how they take those games personally.
Yeah. The Blue Jays, last year's champion.
Underachieving.
Right? 40-46. Vladimir Guerrero, everybody's darling, can't buy a hit. I think he's hitting, I forget what, but it's I think close to 200.
You have to call him Mr. Mendoza.
Yeah. So, you kind of think he's going to break out of it.
By the way, as a Met fan, you know what today is?
Today's Bobby Bonilla Day, is it not?
It is. It is indeed. Very good, Vinnie.
That's why they celebrate in Canada.
And wherever Bobby lives, he's in the Caribbean somewhere, isn't he? Where his check arrives.
Yeah, I'm sure he takes everybody out for a phosphate in the town he lives in.
Cherry phosphate.
Cherry phosphate. Oh, I wouldn't mind a cherry lime phosphate.
That would be good. That would be a good choice.
So, baseball is, part of the saddest thing about baseball is that it is a game that requires attention. It is a game that requires you to have patience. It is a game where you have to, you have to look up at that scoreboard and realize that it's not a game that's just about stats. That the redemption factor, the unknown factor, the personality factor plays more of a hand in baseball, I think, than any other sport. So that's my baseball rant for the day.
When you're got the opportunity, you get a hit. I'm telling you, it cures everything. Winning cures everything.
Now, it looks like the socialist Democrats, the Democratic Socialists of America,
the new winning
here, won another primary
in Colorado.
And while the Democratic Socialist Party is something that's very new, I think, to people, they've been around a while, but they're still new to people. I think that people are starting to stand up and think, I've heard many of the pundits say that this is a New York thing.
Well,
or
for a
Seattle
while, that was the only example that we had, yeah.
But all of a sudden, the Socialist Democrats have scored wins now in Colorado, in Minnesota, in some of the flat states. And it has to make you think that people, that Trump, in a strange way, I was talking with my friend about this before, that people are right, Trump may change our form of government. He has disgusted so many people so much that they're now willing to look outside of the tried and true democracy for
a
the
sensible
people who run the
solution.
government. That they're now looking at alternative ways of governing this country.
And we're
And
looking for
so,
someone who's got true ideas about changing the future based on assertive politics, as opposed to just saying, I'm a Joe Biden Democrat. I deserve your support.
well, somebody in this country has to stand up for the working people.
And the issue of Gaza and the Palestinians and Israel is top of mind in all those races. Dan Goldman, who's a Democratic candidate that lost in New York, a candidate that I liked, got on the wrong side of the Israel question, and he's a Jew, but he was on television doing a post-mortem on his race, and even then said, we're going to have an investigation to find out what happened in Gaza. Nobody knows. It's like a mystery to him. He can't figure it out. He can't put his finger on it. He can't quite blame Israel for it. He can no longer blame the Palestinians for their own mess based on their attack on Israel of October 3 years ago. But to say, who knows what happened in Gaza? We don't know. We're going to have an investigation. We'll have to come to some sort of conclusion. When the world could see it daily, day by day, being turned into rubble, and the individuals that were responsible for the attack were on a list, and they were getting them one at a time. And the people, the mothers and children of Gaza, had to pay the price in their own suffering and the destruction of their city and their neighborhoods and their culture and their very existence. It's funny that is a sustaining issue that divides the Democratic Party, that alienates the Republican Party from the results there, that puts Netanyahu right in the middle of the target of what's wrong with Israel, our one-time erstwhile Middle Eastern ally and friend. So there's so much death and destruction around that neighborhood that it's a sustaining issue in the victories of the so-called socialist Democrats, where everybody else has written it off and just passed it by, moved on to other things. More concerned now for what's happening in Lebanon, not what happened to the Palestinians.
And it seems that, I've always been a staunch defender of Israel. I've always believed that Israel has to be a badass country because of what's around it. Yeah, what other country lives in a space where all the countries around, most of the countries around them, want to destroy them?
Mm-hmm.
And they're not, poor countries. They're countries that have the means to destroy them. And I've always thought that Israel just has to be a little bit better than everybody else because they're up against a lot.
And we support them financially and militarily.
But what we've seen out of Netanyahu, I mean, I got a lot of Jewish friends. They don't like it either. And I think it's part of the reason why you do see Trump in the White House today, because that issue so disgusted so many people that they couldn't vote for Biden. I couldn't vote for Kamala Harris because she came out in support of Israel. And there's a lot of trouble among people, it seems, separating Israel and Jews.
Yes.
and it's not getting any better for them.
And we are prone to equate the Jewish people and the Jewish government as equal, where the coalition that keeps Netanyahu in office is anchored by the most conservative and warlike elements of the Israeli population.
Right. So that's that is a mess over there that we have been involved in for years and years and years. It's a problem that's been going on since 1948,
Yep.
and way before that on a level. And I don't know that it's ever going to get fixed. I don't see Palestine getting a state, certainly in our lifetime.
There's nothing left of it but rubble.
And I wonder, and I wonder why. I've always wondered why the Arab world isn't more vociferous in getting Palestine a state. I mean, I'm sure if the Arabs got together and they said, "Listen, we're going to cut a little piece of land here, and we'll ensure the safety of Israel. We'll help put together a force that will monitor, that will protect Israel if things get out of hand." Why they've never done that? Why they've never come to the aid of their brothers?
They're not united in their own thoughts, and their own fractions of religions have divided them since the prophet walked the earth.
Yeah. It's just always something that I've always thought about. I mean, listen, I'm for a Palestinian state. I think that they deserve to have a place too. But I just find it weird that the
Arab
Arab
world
states
can't unite to benefit their people.
Because I'm sure that if the Arab world got together and said, "Okay, this plot of land we're going to call Palestine. We're going to move these people into that plot of land. We're going to guarantee the security of Israel." That most good-thinking people, bless you, most good-thinking people would say, "Yeah, I can live with that. I could swing with that."
They don't even meet to discuss these matters. They don't have a pan-Arab legislative representative. They don't have the ability to negotiate on their own terms. They have Shiite Muslims with one view, Wasabi Muslims with another view, and they are unforgiving in their resentments.
Right. These are problems that go back 5,000 years.
These are not new issues.
These are things that when they unearth the ancient scrolls, there's talk about this. It's right there in the scrolls.
And nobody is interested in settling these matters and calming them down and finding a way forward that is beneficial for the governments of the Middle East.
It is.
And if you're in the United Arab Emirates or Qatar, you don't know who's going to be from Iran, who's going to be lobbing missiles into your neighborhood based on their own resentments.
Yeah, and I know I probably have a simplistic view of it, but there are people that are scholars that can't figure it out.
Well, the simple part is it's screwed up and it's not going to get better, and some will argue that it can't get better. It will never be solved. The solution does not exist. And that add the Israelis as the enemy of the confused, unsettled Arab world, and you've got a tinderbox that just keeps going off.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's something that it's going to be a while. Donald Trump is not going to settle Israel or the Israeli Arab
or anything
question. Certainly not by putting casinos up in Gaza,
and
which is the plan you don't hear about anything about anymore.
No, I'm waiting for the
artist renderings.
Yes, good idea. Same guy who did the ballroom.
Yeah. So anyway, and going back to what we started talking about, the whole social democrat thing is really is fascinating to me because first of all, Trump trying to paint it as communism, which it is not.
Right. He just can't help himself.
Yeah. The other night he was screaming, "We're not going to let the communists take over our country." Well, it's not communism. They go look at what they believe in. They believe in the people that provide the work that gets things done, get treated fairly, equally, that they're taken care of, that the state provides the things that help these people out. Health care, education, child care, pension. I mean, we're halfway there already. So I don't know. I just wonder how much this movement is going to gain ground. How many legs does it have? How much will we see? And will it be beneficial to the Democratic Party, or will it hurt the Democratic Party?
Well, political parties always have leaders that are behind the times, that are not part of the future of the party. They're part of the past of the party, the tradition and the old guard. And they don't welcome new people because they want to change something. And they've got to take somebody's job who you were counting on for support. And that's what happened in New York. Guys that were part of the liberal voting bloc are gone now, and they just lost their jobs. Same thing in Colorado. And there are some states where these candidates don't exist yet. So new people who are not part of the party are going to adopt these issues and these attitudes and run a candidate that's unknown and is getting attention because of the issues and the way that they're describing what they intend to do about them, where they're going to vote, how they're going to vote, what they will support, what they'll do for what will I do for your vote? Well, the Democrat would have done this, but the Social Democrat will do this and this. And it is more appealing because it sounds new and it sounds like a solution. And these candidates with no experience in politics are getting a look and getting the vote and making a difference. And that's unexpected. And that upsets the status quo in the Democratic Party or any political party. So with this new wave comes a certain atmosphere of throw out the old, in with the new, let's go. And in politics, that upsets your money flow and your support and your corporate support and all the people who were going to give you $1 million under the table if you only did this. So you see that it's a disruptive force, as seen from the party's point of view.
Well, something has to stem the tide of corruption that's going on.
In this atmosphere, it's not surprising that a new idea like that would catch on.
I read this morning in the New York Times, I believe, which I'll always treat as the paper of record. You know that there's a soccer match going on right now.
Who's playing?
England. Oh, I guess it's over. England and the Democratic Republic of Congo. And it appears, wait. It appears that England has won 2-1.
Well, I say fire the manager of Congo. It's my solution to that losing streak.
I agree with you. I say fire everybody. Just a financial disclosure for 2025 shows that the Trump family's holdings, particularly the crypto business, has pulled in at least $2 billion after returning to the White House.
It's got nothing to do with any arrangements that were made by the Trump family while in office. I just want to underscore that. This is just the luck of the draw. Somebody had to make $2 billion. Why not Donald Trump Jr.?
It's disgusting.
Color me disgusted.
It's disgusting. So Friday, we will have our Fractious Friday, and it'll be our show that celebrates 250 years of America.
I'll try to come up with my top 5 personal reasons for being an American.
Yeah, that might not be a bad idea. There's a question in the New York Times this morning. Maybe think about this for Friday. What is the definitive movie about America? Don't give it away. 10 writers on the films that get it at the hopes, dreams, heartbreak, and hilarity of the United States of America as it turns 250 years old. So that's interesting. That's something that we both could get into.
So is it a George Lucas film or a Frank Capra film? You don't have to answer that.
Interesting.
American Graffiti or James Stewart and
It's a Wonderful Life.
Height.
Casablanca. That's not a Capra film, but it's
but that's got an American theme to it in terms because of Bogart's unwillingness to bend. He won't yield.
And the redemption. I mean, that's a story about Bogart who was redeemed from, being wanted somewhere, and I forget where Rick was had trouble, but he had trouble.
Schenectady.
Schenectady will always get you. Oh, and by the way, just to make you feel better before we go, scientists have created man-made cells that feeds grows, and reproduces. So we're closer than ever to creating life in a test tube.
Well, they wouldn't want to clone me, but that's my fault, I suppose.
Well,
Just to
this
look
isn't
at
even a
the
clone, Michael. This is like just build it.
just build it, and they will come.
Build it, they will come. Well, I don't know if they're going to have sexual proclivities, but
Yeah, you can bet they do.
build it and they will come. Maybe
See
we'll
it.
even check in with Spolpaki on Friday.
They have, I don't know, it's not 250 years. I can't remember how long they've been around, but
Oh, I think they got a six. I think it's 16 years. I think they're having a quinceanera.
well, they all wear fascinating dresses.
And I'm gonna, especially the guys, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna I have a special hat for America's 250th anniversary.
Uh-huh. I look
I got
forward to that.
a special hat that I found. I bought it earlier this year, and we'll wear it on Friday.
So be it. We'll figure out what you're driving by then, too.
Yes, we will. I'll figure out what I'm driving. By the way, just before we go, happy birthday to my good friend Mark Collins, who turns 70 today.
Happy birthday, Mark.
So Mark, who was the leader of Save Our Seahawks, and has become a personal friend and a solid dude, and one of the guys you'd want to have as your friend.
And the Seahawks were saved.
They are saved. Yes, the Seahawks are saved, even though they're desecrating their stadium with soccer, with the World Cup.
I kicked the ball.
And kick the ball, kick the ball, kick the ball, kick the ball. But it is true. Oh, yes, the USA is going to play Bosnia Herzegovina today. I didn't even know that was still a country.
It's right by Montenegro. You can't miss it.
Wah, wah, wah.
See you for a Freaky Friday, man.
See you for a Freaky Friday, Michael. Thank you all for listening. We'll catch up with you on Friday if the Lord is willing and the creek don't rise. Thank you for listening. Peace, love, and Manischewitz, baby. See ya. Thank you for listening. Da-da-da-da-da. Wah, 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 wah.